Hi, this is Michael Dante. You're listening to TV Confidential.
The shock and shame story of a night girl. Starring Constance Towers, The Naked Kiss. A motion picture not for the squeamish, but powerful entertainment for those who enjoy reality in the raw.
Ed Robertson, welcoming you back to TV Confidential, radio talk show about television that's happy to welcome actress and singer Constance Towers. If you follow daytime television, you know Constance Towers as Helena Carradine, the charismatic villainous that she has played on ABC's General Hospital on a recurring basis since 1997. Prior to General Hospital, of course, Connie has starred in such films and TV series as The Horse Soldiers, Sergeant Rutledge, Shock Corridor, The Naked Kiss, Perry Mason, Designing Women, L.A. Law, Criminal Minds, Cold Case, A Perfect Murder, 1600 Penn, and 11/22/63, while her musical credits include the national tour of The King and I, opposite Yul Brynner, as well as productions of The Sound of Music, Carousel, Oklahoma, Camelot, and Mame. The American Cinematheque will be honoring Constance Towers at the Egyptian Theater in Hollywood on Sunday, January 27th, as part of a special evening that will include a screening of The Naked Kiss. The Naked Kiss, the iconic film by Samuel Fuller that has grown in stature since its original release in 1964, in large part due to the performance of Constance Towers. We will tell you more about that event in just a second, but first we began our conversation by telling Connie, I think I had seen Shock Corridor many, many years ago, but I had never seen The Naked Kiss, and that's an amazing film.
Well, it really is when you think the time in this early 60s, and that Sammy had the vision, the imagination, and the courage to make it. Child molestation was not a buzzword. People kind of hid under the carpet. They didn't want to talk about it. And the fact that he did in such a bold way really made it almost a film that people didn't want to touch. As I understand, which I thought was so interesting, is that Jeffrey Katzenberg and Michael Eisner, well, they were thinking of producing it and they refused to. And then they did White Dog, which they refused to even exhibit after they made it. So it's interesting.
It is interesting, and one of the things I've read, I don't know whether this is true, but I've read that Fuller was very open to the cast members of The Naked Kiss and saying, okay, this is not going to be a commercial success for many years to come, but it's an important film nonetheless that I want you to make. Was that your experience with him?
Well, he was very compelling and did make us all feel that what we were doing was not just a little film that could be called an exploitation film, but that, as you say, that in years to come would be regarded as having been an important film to make. And the way he made it, I mean, you know, the opening when he has that, the beating that Kelly, the character that I played, is giving to her
pimp,
procurer, for lack of a better word. That was not the first time, but it was probably the second or third time that a handheld camera had been used to great effect. And so it allowed them to really get right in her face and in the procurer's face so that you really became a part of the dimension of the scene rather than just looking at it. Of course, today it's used all the time, and it's expected at moments and very effectively used, but then it was really innovational.
And that speaks to another thing. James Best said this about Sam Fuller. He said many of his films were low budget, but by the time they were mounted and screened, he may have had low budgets, but he shot them as if they were big budget pictures.
Yeah, that's right. And he did it, my goodness, like in 21 days that he shot it. But he was so well organized. And that's something you hear about Hitchcock, that he always had the storyboards so beautifully designed that he knew exactly how much film he was going to use, and you couldn't change the flow of it, so he could bring a film in on a certain budget. But Sammy wrote it, produced it, and directed it. And he managed to be so well organized that he could bring it in on a low budget. None of us certainly made a fortune on the film.
Mm-hmm.
And I wish we'd all had back-end deals. I wish people had been doing that then. But Gene Evans and I sat next to each other at Sammy's memorial at the Directors Guild that Curtis Hanson produced for him. And we both said, did you ever believe that it was going to be this important a film? And he and I, it wasn't The Naked Kiss, it was Shock Corridor
right.
that I was in with him.
Mm-hmm.
And we both so loved working with Sammy and would do anything in the world for him because he was so brilliant and gave you such a, as you said, that he was so open to the actor. And the actor felt that you really had a friend in your director and confidence, that it was a great experience. When a lot of directors weren't that open to the actors, they kind of were on a pedestal. And I think of the difference of working with Sammy and working with John Ford, whom I adored, but it was still a different relationship. Sammy was just totally open. He was very unprejudiced. He was, what's the word I'm looking for, that he was...
Well, it sounds like, film is a collaborative medium. Television is especially a collaborative medium.
That's right.
And it sounds like Sam Fuller embraced the collaborative aspect of filmmaking in that, yes, he's the writer, he's the producer, he's the director, and he has a vision of what he wants portrayed, but he can't do that in a vacuum. He needs your input as the performer because you may see something that he hadn't seen when he originally wrote the character out.
That's right. No, he took you by the hand, and it was a partnership. And the word I was looking for to really describe Sammy is that he was totally uninhibited. and he really was. He was childlike.
Yeah.
And I realized that when I saw The Naked Kiss again a few years ago with Curtis, and I said, I never realized how being as uninhibited as he was, that he could get on the floor with those children
mm-hmm.
and become one of them. And he did. And he just was able to get that pure, moving performance out of those little children in that scene when this little song is sung.
Mm-hmm.
And to see their reaction to him and to watch that again, I thought even at the time I didn't appreciate it totally, what he was doing. But those little kids just gave him everything. They were so trusting and childlike as he was. So he had so much talent.
On the line with us is Constance Towers, Helena Carradine of General Hospital, and the star of many other film, TV, and stage productions, including Samuel Fuller's The Naked Kiss. The Naked Kiss, a film that was originally dismissed as exploitative fare when it was originally released in 1964, but which is now recognized as one of the most powerful and prophetic films ever made. Mid-Century Productions, in partnership with the American Cinematheque, will honor Constance Towers at the Egyptian Theater in Hollywood on Sunday, January 27th. The event will include a screening of The Naked Kiss, followed by an onstage discussion of the movie with Constance Towers that will be moderated by film historian Foster Hirsch. For more information, American Cinematheque Calendar.com. We will hyperlink all the information for the Sunday, January 27th event on our program notes at televisionconfidential.com. We mentioned at the start of our conversation, Connie, that Naked Kiss was the second picture you did for Sam Fuller, Shock Corridor being the first. Did one lead to the other? Was it a two-picture deal? How did you first come to Sam's attention?
It was Sammy who did that. I met him when he was preparing to do Shock Corridor,
mm-hmm.
and he asked me if I would be interested in being in it, and of course to work with him as a new young actress, certainly in the world of cinema,
mm-hmm.
I just thought, oh my goodness, that would be such a wonderful experience. And so I did Shock Corridor, and it was just remarkable to be a part of that whole picture. Again, innovative, when you think what he did in that long corridor, using shorter actors
mm-hmm.
at the end of it to give it a perspective.
Mm-hmm.
I've always loved that. I mean, who else would think of that but Sam Fuller?
Or even in the dream sequences where Peter Breck is in the institution and he did a lot of superimposing of you during the dream sequences.
That was sort of innovative at the time,
mm-hmm.
too. everything that he did was fresh.
Mm-hmm.
And so when he asked me, he said that he had this vision of the story he wanted to write about a prostitute and her attempt to find a real life,
Mm-hmm.
a life of giving, a life that was producing something to change her world, and the disillusionment of being out in society. He always told the truth, which was hard for people to sometimes digest. I just thought it was a wonderful opportunity, a great challenge. So I did that second film. But we didn't talk about a two-picture deal. It was a one-picture situation that developed into the second picture.
Well, my guess is that he apparently saw something in you as a result of working with you in Shock Corridor that led him to offer you the role of Kelly in The Naked Kiss.
Well, at the time I was married and living in Panama,
Mm-hmm.
the home where my ex-husband lived,
Mm-hmm.
and he was a friend of Sammy's. So he invited Sam to come down to Panama over the Christmas holidays and to go fishing in Colombia with us, deep-sea fishing. And Sammy did, and he'd never caught a fish before, which I loved. And I told Curtis this story, that he always said, you know, I have a poisonous something in my skin because fish swim away when they know that I'm holding the pole. And he caught a shark. And there's nothing worse than a shark because it's not a game fish.
Mm-hmm.
It just simply gets the hook and it goes to the bottom. And you work for hours to get that big fish up, but it's not exactly a sailfish or a marlin. We said, Sammy, you've hooked a shark. Let's get rid of it and go on and find you a nice, wonderful big game fish. And he said, no, this is my fish. I'm going to land it. So he worked for like 6 hours to get that fish up. And all the men on the boat, the sailors, were looking at him like he was crazy, that he was working so hard to land this fish, or this shark,
Mm-hmm.
and it was a white shark. And she was pregnant. So we brought her back to the beach, and Sammy insisted on hanging her up on the scale and having his picture taken next to it. And then a native came out of the jungle and looked at us like we were all crazy, hanging this shark up. So he walked up with his bolo knife and just slit open the belly of the shark, and out fell this bag, which I didn't know that sharks did that, but they had their babies like humans do,
Oh, wow.
in a sack. And so it had unleashed like 13 little baby sharks that were the cutest little Disney drawings that you've ever seen. But anyway, they threw it all in the water and they hung the shark off the end of the boat. And by morning, all of her fellow sharks had come in. All that was left was just this skeleton of a fish. And Sammy was so proud of that. He just couldn't get over that he had landed this shark. But anyway, on our way home, on the plane coming from Panama, before we got to Guatemala, which was a stop at that time, there was a baby on the plane that was about 2 weeks old who had been given all of the vaccination shots
Mm-hmm.
at once, so the poor little baby had gone into shock. And Sammy and I were the only people up in the first class section of the plane, and they came up and they said, can you help us? The stewardess said, I don't know how to administer oxygen. I don't know what to do. So Sammy said, I don't know either. So I said, well, I'll try. So we fought to save that baby's life all the way to Guatemala. And when the doctors came aboard in Guatemala, they took her off with the mother and took her immediately to a hospital. And Sammy watched that whole drama of my making the attempt to save this baby,
Mm-hmm.
and it somehow gave him an inspiration. And from there, Naked Kiss seemed to start forming in his imagination, and then he wrote this story.
Yeah, clearly you working with that small child on the plane is in a heightened situation. I mean, yeah, that speaks to one of the very core elements of Kelly's character in the movie.
Right. And it's when it was the germ of the idea started. I don't know why he saw me as a prostitute. I don't know where that came from. But the fact that, he was so open to any bit of story around him, and it would create these wonderful stories that he told. But each story had, as you know, had a moral to it, and a strong moral. Even like The White Dog, which he wrote with Curtis Hanson, was so powerful that, as I said, Jeffrey Katzenberg and Michael Eisner at Paramount wouldn't release it. And it kind of is why Sammy went to Europe and stayed there for many years, because he just wasn't welcome in the United States.
On the line with us is singer-actress Constance Towers, star of General Hospital, The Naked Kiss, Shock Corridor, The King and I, Perry Mason, and many other film, TV, and stage productions. For our listeners in Los Angeles, Constance Towers will appear at the Egyptian Theater in Hollywood, 6712 Hollywood Boulevard, on Sunday, January 27th. Connie will be interviewed that night by film historian Foster Hirsch, following a special...
Who is wonderful.
Yes, that is what I hear. I've never talked to Foster, but I hear he knows his film, and I understand he's a great raconteur.
Oh, he's fabulous.
Yes. So Connie will be talking to Foster Hirsch on January 27th at the Egyptian Theater, following a special screening of The Naked Kiss. The event begins at 5:30 p.m. Your ticket not only admits you to the film and the post-screening conversation between Constance Towers and Foster Hirsch, but includes free food and drink. For more information, AmericanCinemathequeCalendar.com. We will also include a link to that on the program notes at TelevisionConfidential.com. You're on screen, I would say, like 80 or 90% of the time in Naked Kiss. So that, I would think that can demand a lot of a performer. Did it? What was your experience?
Oh, it was totally encompassing. And Sammy wanted her in every scene. He wanted to create a story where the story, in order for it to be told, it had to be the character's story, and she had to be there to tell it. I marveled at what he accomplished on a low budget and the speed with which it had to be shot. But as I said before, he just took you by the hand, and you talked together the entire time. It was a narrative between director and actor at all times. It was concentrated. It was hard work, but so rewarding. And certainly the thing that was one about Sam, if you had a question about anything, you could turn to him and ask him, and he would give you an answer, but he would talk to you in terms that where you weren't talking in counterpoint. You were literally, he was answering your question on your level, on your terms. So there was that complete understanding at all times. And most actors, I think, would agree that we've all had this experience where sometimes you have a director you just don't communicate with.
Yeah. Well,
I had a director once who would just, this was on Broadway, but the director would come to my door after a performance when you're waiting for notes before you've opened and say, more. And I would say, more what? I mean, more?
Yeah.
And so there was no communication at all. So you had to go off in a corner and try to, director had given you maybe the roof of a house, but you had to build a house to figure out how he got there.
Yeah, I mean, I like to say, I can't give you what you want unless you give me a picture of what you want.
Exactly. So that experience with Sam was just so fulfilling, and plus the fact that he was so likable. And he had these wonderful, as I said, he was so childlike that if he felt that the concentration on the set, or if things were getting a little laggard, he had a gun. He'd shoot off the gun. And boy, that concentrated your mind immediately.
Well, it goes back to what you said a little while ago. He was nothing if not uninhibited.
Oh, exactly. Totally uninhibited. But he was wonderful.
Our guest this hour is singer-actress Constance Towers. Helena Carradine of General Hospital, and the star of many other films and TV productions, including Samuel Fuller's The Naked Kiss. We'll talk some more to Connie about working with Samuel Fuller. We'll also talk about her experience playing Helena on General Hospital. All that more after this quick time out here on TV Confidential.
Buying or selling a home can be one of the most stressful things we'll ever do in life, but it doesn't have to be. And no one knows better than our friends at Front Porch Realty Group. They're a community of realtors serving the Northern Bay Area of California that cares about their clients as individuals first and foremost. Whether you're a first-time buyer or looking to lease or sell your property in the Bay Area, Front Porch Realty Group will help you through this important transition by providing you with the right information for your situation while lessening the pain. They also work with a network of realtors throughout California who provide the same high caliber of customer service. Call Front Porch Realty Group at 886-7411 for a realtor referral near you. You can also visit their website, frontporchrealtygroup.com, for more information on the services they provide, including upcoming workshops and seminars. For more information, call 415-886-7411 or visit frontporchrealtygroup.com. Front Porch Realty Group. They'll find the solution that works best for you.
One more item, the Beverly Hills Theater Guild annually sponsors the Julie Harris Playwright Awards competition to discover new theatrical works and to encourage established or emerging writers to create quality works for the theater. The Julie Harris Playwright Awards competition offers 3 prizes. First prize, $3,500. Second prize, $2,500. Third prize, $1,500. This year's competition runs from January 1st to April 1st, 2019, and is open to all U.S. citizens or legal residents. All entries must be original, full-length plays that are unpublished, unproduced, and not currently under any option. Entries must be accompanied by the application form and must be in accordance with the submission policies and procedures. All entries must be postmarked by April 1st, 2019. To download an application form for the Julie Harris Playwright Awards competition, or for more information on submission policies and procedures, go to BeverlyHillsTheaterGuild.com and click Award Competitions. BeverlyHillsTheaterGuild.com, click Award Competitions. Ed Robertson here to tell you how you can get a free first ride with Uber, the mobile app that connects you with a ride at the touch of a button in just a matter of minutes. Uber has drivers in cities across the country and around the world, while payment is seamless and cashless. To download the app, go to uber.com and enter the promo code TV Confidential, all one word, and you will receive a free first ride up to $20. To sign up directly with the promo code included, go to get.uber.com/go/TV Confidential, get.uber.com/go/TV Confidential.
Hello, this is Robert Wagner, and you are listening to TV Confidential.
Getting to know you, getting to know all about you, getting to like you, getting to hope you like me.
Ed Robertson, along with our guest Constance Towers. Connie will appear at the Egyptian Theater, 6712 Hollywood Boulevard in Hollywood, California on Sunday, January 27th. Connie will be interviewed that night by film historian Foster Hirsch following a special screening of The Naked Kiss. The event begins at 5:30 p.m. and your ticket not only admits you to the film and the post-screening conversation with Constance Towers, but includes free food and drink. For more information, go to AmericanCinematheque.com, AmericanCinematheque.com. Constance Towers will also appear at the annual Beverly Hills Theater Guild Luncheon at the Four Seasons Hotel in Beverly Hills on Sunday, March 17th. This year's luncheon will honor Oscar winner Eva Marie Saint, as well as her husband, the late director Jeffrey Hayden. It will also honor television writer-director Howard Storm, as well as her friend Bud Burton Moss, while the highlight of the program will include a special tribute to the films and television series of Gary Marshall. For more information on the Beverly Hills Theater Guild Luncheon, call 310-765-1605, 310-765-1605, or go to BeverlyHillsTheaterGuild.com. In our previous segment, Connie mentioned working with director John Ford on both The Horse Soldiers and Sergeant Rutledge. As we pick up the conversation, Connie's about to tell us a story about the day that John Ford visited the set of The Naked Kiss.
And one day, John Ford, as I mentioned before, I had been in 2 of his films, and he was the godfather of my children, and a wonderful friend and certainly collaborator. And he wanted to come and visit the set. So he did visit the set, but he said, I'll come for tea. And Sammy said, he'll come for tea? Who has tea? What is tea? So I had to bring a teapot in. I brought the cups from home, and I explained to Sammy that the reason John Ford liked to come for tea at about 4:30 in the afternoon on the set, and why he did it on his own films, was that he felt that if you gave the crew and the actors, everybody, a little bit of sugar, they would be heightened energy and work a little longer. So there was really a plan behind his kind of mad scheme of stopping production to have tea. Well, that was such an experience for Sam. He couldn't get over sitting down, having a cup of tea, and being civilized like that while you're making a movie which is so concentrated, and for him on such a tight schedule. Anyway, John Ford came, he watched, and so he decided practically every day he came back. He couldn't get over Sam's ability and his whole art of the way he made a film. And so he had here the great John Ford sitting there watching him work. So it was extraordinary. And Sammy, he affected everybody that way.
I think it's cool. I mean, this is a man who, speaking of Fuller, this is a man who obviously traveled to different countries. He was exposed to different culture. He served our country in World War II. So he had lived a little. I mean, he had a lot of different life experience, and yet the concept of having tea in the afternoon was foreign to him. I just think that is so cool.
Oh, I know. I mean, it was, to be there was really fun because he was this uninhibited, childlike man sitting down and stopping his schedule where he would be plugging ahead, pushing everybody to get it done and done right the way he wanted it, to stop and have this nicety, this calmness, this peace for about an hour in his schedule was really, it was extraordinary. But it was great fun.
It was great fun, and it was great fun talking to Constance Towers. Constance Towers, Helena Carradine of General Hospital, and the star of many other film, stage, and TV productions, including Samuel Fuller's The Naked Kiss, which will be screened on Sunday, January 27th at the Egyptian Theater in Hollywood. The evening begins at 5:30 and includes not only a screening of the film, but Connie will appear on stage after the screening in conversation with film historian Foster Hirsch. For more information, go to AmericanCinemaTechCalendar.com. For many of our listeners who follow daytime television, they think of you as Helena Carradine on General Hospital, a character that you've played off and on for 2 decades. And I would imagine that's an extraordinary experience for a performer to have someone that you can come back to time and again and revisit her skin and find new nuances to her character.
Absolutely. Yeah. Very, very interesting.
And I understand that the secret to playing a villainous character like Helena is to not think of her as a villain.
Oh, absolutely. You have to have vulnerability. I don't care what great villain there is. If you play them evil, that's not very interesting. But if they have vulnerability and humor, and they're a real person, then you get invested in them. When I first did it, because it's the first real heavy that I've ever played, I was always purest driven snow, except for Kelly. It was trying to be. When they first approached me about it, I thought, gosh, I don't know what this is. But then I got into thinking about it and thinking about the villains that I've enjoyed are villains that you kind of wanted them to win in a way. That even though what they're doing is blowing up the world or whatever, you kind of hope they'll win just because you like them. You get inside and understand, sort of motivates them. And I kept thinking, oh, there's going to come a moment, I'm going to be walking down the street. Somebody's going to come up and say, you terrible person, how could you possibly be so evil? I have never, in the 20 years that I have played this role, had anyone say anything other than, I just love you. You're so evil, but I love to hate you. So it's always made me feel maybe I did do something right, but it's been great fun, and she's so over-the-top evil. I mean, actors don't like to work with the character because when Helena has a meeting with them, she leaves the room, they're dead. And actors say, oh my God, don't do that to me.
Yes, but as I understand, with Helena, at least in terms of the way you've always approached her, one of her key motivations is taking care of her family, which is something anybody could identify with.
Right.
And again, that speaks to not thinking of her as a bad person per se, but someone who Maybe her methods may be unconventional, but her goal is ultimately taking care of
So I made the grandson her vulnerability. That was her Achilles heel.
Yeah.
And she made mistakes because of her overwhelming love of her grandson. And people understood that because people do that every day. They excuse their child for doing something they know they shouldn't have done, but they love them so much they let them get away with it. So the grandson, Nicholas, she just doted on him and therefore made mistakes. And that made her vulnerable, made you feel for her because he would be nasty to her, and so you felt sorry for her. So it's been an interesting, again, collaboration with the writers of that show. We've had the most incredible writing staff on General Hospital, and they've been creative with that character. The relationship that Tony Geary and I, we were arch enemies, but we developed this sexual tension between the two characters. And so you never knew what really had transpired in the past. But it was sort of like in The King and I, when the king never actually has a romance with Mrs. Anna. It's always unrequited. And it leaves you going out of The King and I thinking, I'll go back and see it next time, and maybe this time they'll get together.
Yeah.
You know? And it was the same thing between the character of Tony Geary, who was Luke, and Helena. They were just out to try to kill one another, but they admired one another's skills, and so it was who could one-up the other one. And they always had, as I said, then this sexual tension between them that the audience always thought, oh, they're going to get together this time. Well, maybe next time they'll get together, but of course they never did.
One thing I admire, Connie, not only about performers in daytime television, particularly an hour-long show, such as General Hospital, such as, Y&R, is not only the performers of a daytime show, but the writers of a daytime show, as you alluded to do 5 one-hour shows a week. That's the equivalent of 2.5 feature motion pictures. And
that's right.
You're doing that in 1 week, week in, week out. That is incredibly hard.
Well, it is, but I feel and always felt that it was the best training that you could ever get in memory, in keeping yourself honest as an actor, because you get tired. And so when you get tired, you sometimes will fall back and allow yourself an old acting trick that gets you through a familiar scene or a familiar emotional experience. You never want to do that. You always want to keep your performance fresh and keep it new. And that takes work to do that. But it's satisfying and rewarding work. So, the writers, sometimes the scripts were warm because you got them the night before or maybe the day before. I've spent an entire weekend at my dining room table with an actor just cueing me to get me through 40 pages on Monday. That were, and I might have Tuesday and Wednesday, but I would still be waiting for Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. So I still had more lines to learn, but just to get me on Monday and Tuesday and maybe Wednesday, it would take me a whole weekend. And the other actor that I would be working with on Monday was doing the same thing. And, or at least you would be praying that they were doing the same thing. When you met each other on Monday, you could at least get through it.
Yeah.
But when that red light goes on the camera, it really concentrates your mind. But I was constantly reminded of that because in a movie, if you make a page and a half a day, they really think they're on schedule.
Yeah.
And here we were doing parts and pieces of 5 shows in a week. And then they would shoot more than 5 shows so that at Christmas time, everybody could take a week off.
So let me just make sure I'm following correctly. So if you're coming to the set, you may shoot pages from maybe Monday shows, Tuesday shows, Wednesday shows, all on the same day? Or you shoot Monday?
They found that shooting that way, rather than just shooting one individual, they do one individual show a day. They get all the pieces. But they might have shot some of those scenes the week before. So it keeps them on schedule that way, and it allows them to get ahead, because otherwise, if they just did a show a day, they would never be ahead of a week, so you could give anybody a vacation.
That makes sense, but I'm just thinking, I'm trying to put myself in your shoes, Connie. At 11, you're shooting pages for Monday, and then you take a break, and at 12:31, you're shooting pages for Tuesday. You have to shift gears, not only in terms of the dialogue, but where you are in the story in a short amount of time.
Absolutely. But it's like shooting a movie.
Yeah.
How many movies have you heard an actor talk about, and they'll tell you, well, we shot the end of the movie first?
That's true. That is true.
You know, and so you can't anticipate. You have to be very careful that you know the ending, or you know the end of whatever drama part you're working on, that you have to treat it like you don't know it. So you have to forget it.
Yeah.
When you go in to shoot the beginning build-up, and you have to know where you recognize what's coming for the story, and then how it's going to play out. It's a big challenge. You know what it's like? It's like when you pat your head and rub your stomach. It's what you feel like you're doing all the time.
Yeah.
I've always said that if somebody came to me after all of this experience I've had in soap opera, if they came to me and said, look, we've got this script. It's a 2-hour play. It's going to be on Broadway, and you open next Friday. I think I'd say, okay, as long as I have the weekend to sit down with somebody and really learn the words and develop it, I'll be there Friday. I think I can open. Well, if you haven't had that experience, you would never say you could do that. But it's amazing what the brain can do, as I say, when that little red light goes on.
Absolutely.
Or the curtain goes up. You're there by yourself, and you better know it.
On the line with us is singer-actress Constance Towers, star of General Hospital, The Naked Kiss, Shock Corridor, The King and I, Perry Mason, and many other film, TV, and stage productions. For our listeners in Los Angeles, Constance Towers will appear at the Egyptian Theater in Hollywood on Sunday, January 27th. Connie will be interviewed by film historian Foster Hirsch that evening following a special screening of The Naked Kiss. For more information, AmericanCinematicCalendar.com. We were joking about patting your head and rubbing your tummy at the same time. Now, I can't sing and I cannot dance, but I have been told that one of the hardest things a performer can do is sing and dance at the same time, especially when you're live on stage.
Well, it depends on how good a dancer you are. I mean, if you have to count, which I kind of do, it's hard. But if you have enough time to rehearse it, then it all becomes second nature. And I think that's true of the spoken word in acting. In singing, it's the lyric and the song. If you know it well enough, it becomes second nature. You can do anything with it. But if you have to do them all at once, it does tax the brain.
Yeah. I guess to some way you sort of have to separate the two. Once you get the dance steps down, then you can focus on the lyrics, and then having mastered the first step, you then work on the second step, and then it all coalesces.
I've always felt, and I hear other actors say this too, that when they finally get their blocking, they learn the lines, but it's when you get in the scene and you realize, oh, I sit down here, of course, and that's connected to this thought, and then I need to turn on the lights because the room is dark. That's connected to this thought. That it's the same thing that when you get the choreography that goes with the lyric and the song, then it all works together. So you have a second part of your brain working that does all of that. And then you can emote, you can get into it, and forget about that. It's all part of the art. That's why we rehearse.
That is
you
true.
Know?
That is
It
true.
really is. I did Follies, and I love that show, and I love Stephen Sondheim. But that was the hardest work I think I've ever done, because the songs, the lyrics were so difficult, and especially the second, I played Phyllis, the rather sophisticated Alexis Smith played it on Broadway, and she's a wonderful character, but both songs that she has, Leave You, which is in the first act, and the second act, it's Lucy and Jessie. I would stand in the wings and run the lyrics in my head just before I went on stage out of fear, because the complicated dance that I had to do with the lyrics in the second act, I felt like, is this just me? And I was talking to Craig Stevens, who was married to Alexis Smith, one day, and I said, did Alexis ever worry about the lyrics in that song and putting it all together every night? Because I was I was terrified every night before I would go on for fear that I would forget it. And he said, oh, my God, she stood in the wings and ran everything and ran it over and over and over and stepped out and then did it. And I felt so much better.
Yeah.
You know, that it had affected her the same way. One matinee, I was doing Leave You, which is leave you,
Mm-hmm.
how could I leave you, how could I go it alone? And she's got all of these, could I leave the shelves of books with, and so on, and she just keeps going and going. Well, the actor I was working with happened to move when I didn't expect him to move. And it was like a dance step.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't happen when it's supposed to.
Mm-hmm.
And he turned and he made a fake moment where he was going to leave, and it caught my attention. I thought, oh, where's he going? Well, I lost the lyric. And the only thing I could do, I knew I had to keep going, so I went, and the conductor was looking at me like, what was that? And I'm sure all the hearing aids in the first row were saying, I didn't get that. Did you get that? What did she say? Well, because I'd done it so much, I suddenly was back in it, back on, and I was fine. And when I came off stage, Maxine Andrews, one of the Andrews sisters, was in the show. And she was standing in the wings, and she said, what was that? Polish? But the actor I was, Walter Charles, he's a wonderful actor. He and I, for the rest of the run, could never look at each other because we would start laughing.
Yeah.
That moment, he said, the look of utter terror on my face was a poem. And he said, and the terror that he felt, which was, oh my God, if she doesn't get back on, what am I going to do? He and I, even today, a couple of years later, or 5 years later, if we see each other, we just start laughing.
Our guest this hour is singer-actress Constance Towers. We'll take a quick time out, and we'll continue our conversation with Connie here on TV Confidential.
And 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, 3, and splendid, Your Majesty.
Splendid, splendid. You throw me off couch.
Oh. And 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, 3, and
That is not right.
Oh, yes, it is. You're doing beautifully.
Story Salon is Los Angeles' longest-running storytelling venue. We have live shows every Wednesday in Studio City, as well as solo shows, podcasts, CDs, and several books. Los Angeles Daily News calls Story Salon Gemstones of Narrative, something new, funny, astonishing. Sunset Magazine says tales tall, tragic, and tantalizing. All of this makes Story Salon one of the most eclectic entertainment experiences available. You can learn more about us by going to our Facebook page or by visiting our website at www.storysalon.com.
Ed Robertson here to tell you how you can get a free first ride with Uber, the mobile app that connects you with the ride at the touch of a button in just a matter of minutes. Uber has drivers in cities across the country and around the world, while payment is seamless and cashless. To download the app, go to uber.com and enter the promo code TV Confidential, all one word, and you will receive a free first ride up to $20. To sign up directly with the promo code included, go to get.uber.com/go/TV Confidential, get.uber.com/go/TV Confidential.
Shall I tell you what I think of you? You're spoiled. You're a conscientious worker, but you're spoiled. Giving credit where it's due, there is much I like in you, but it's also very true that you're spoiled. Everybody's always bowing to the king. Everybody has to grovel to the king. By your Buddha you are blessed, by your ladies you're caressed, but the one who loves you best is the king.
Ed Robertson, along with her friend Donna Allen Figueroa, who I understand has a new book out.
Yes, it's entitled Fall Again Beginnings. It's the first part of a 4-part contemporary romantic series set against the background of working actors.
Something that you know a thing or two
well,
about.
You write what you know, and I have been working in the business for several years.
It is not necessarily autobiographical, but it's based on...
Sure, many of the experiences that the actors in my book have, many have happened to me, many have happened to friends of mine. It's not, if you're looking for Valley of the Dolls, it's not, it's grounded in reality.
It is grounded in reality, and it's the first in a series.
Yes.
Called the Fall Again series.
Fall Again.
Which is available as a paperback as well as an ebook and in Kindle at fallagainseries.com.
Hi, this is Carol Wells. You're listening to TV Confidential.
Ed Robertson, along with our guest Constance Towers. Connie will appear at the Egyptian Theater, 6712 Hollywood Boulevard in Hollywood, California on Sunday, January 27th. Connie will be interviewed that night by film historian Foster Hirsch following a special screening of The Naked Kiss. The event begins at 5:30 p.m. and your ticket not only admits you to the film and the post-screening conversation with Constance Towers, but includes free food and drink. For more information, go to AmericanCinematheque.com, AmericanCinematheque.com. Constance Towers will also appear at the annual Beverly Hills Theater Guild Luncheon at the Four Seasons Hotel in Beverly Hills on Sunday, March 17th. This year's luncheon will honor Oscar winner Eva Marie Saint. For more information on the Beverly Hills Theater Guild Luncheon, call 310-765-1605, 310-765-1605, or go to BeverlyHillsTheaterGuild.com. Connie, before we went to break, you shared a story with us about the night when you had to think on your feet during a live performance of Follies because one of the actors inadvertently missed a step and you had to improvise to get yourself back to the right lyric. And that speaks to the challenge, Connie, of performing live. One of the key differences between performing live and doing something for film and television is if you go up or if he misses a step and that throws you off in the song, if you're doing this for film, you can cut and take it from the top. You can't do that on stage. You have to rely on your improvising.
The minute you step on that stage, you're on your own.
Yeah.
Nobody can call cut. You're there for 2.5 hours of performing that if something goes wrong, you have to be able to handle it. Mm-hmm. If a door doesn't open, which has happened to me, you climb out the window.
Yeah.
But you keep going. A phone rings and you don't expect it to ring. Mm-hmm. Actors have handled it. The famous Lunton Fontaine, I think, was when the phone rang. He picked up the phone and he said, and it wasn't supposed to ring, and he picked it up and he said, "Oh, dear," on stage. He turned to his wife and he said, "It's for you."
Let me ask you a similar question. Now, you've sung on film.
Well, I guess Naked Kiss is the only time that it stayed in the picture. I sang in The Horse Soldiers. It was cut. I haven't sung in another film. But in The Horse Soldiers I sang, and it never made the film.
Well, in Naked Kiss, I know sometimes when you sing for film, sometimes the actor will record the song separately, and then they'll play the recording of the song while you're filming and you're lip-syncing. While other times, I know of some actors who will perform the song in real time while you're filming.
Right.
What has your experience been in singing for film?
Well, there was no accompaniment with it. It was a cappella children, which was absolutely right. That was honest, pure, the correct thing. So she was singing it with them, and we just did it. There was no big orchestral accompaniment. There was nothing. So it was wonderful to do it that way, very free, and I wasn't trying to partner with a piano or anything else. It just was the song.
Well, I'm trying to remember. You did, I know in one of the Perry Masons you sang, and I'm pretty sure that's you singing.
Oh, no, it is.
Yeah.
It absolutely is. That was a two-parter that they had never done before, and they decided to do it as musical. The character was a nightclub singer.
Yeah. Bobby Troup, I think, played drums, and Barney Kessel.
I'd forgotten that.
Yeah.
Right.
And Barney Kessel accompanied you for that show. So yeah, it's like Perry Mason the musical.
Oh, that's interesting. I'd almost forgot so much of that. Raymond Burr loved music. Mm-hmm. Of course, he was a joy to work with. Mm-hmm. He was so bright, so rigid personality. And my favorite story about him was that he was going to have abdominal surgery.
Mm-hmm.
And somehow, between the time that he was prepared for surgery, with all the shaving and all the things that go on to clear the area that they're going to operate on, so his stomach was certainly viewed by nurses and people getting him ready for this abdominal surgery, that when he was into the operating room and the doctor removed the sheet, or the nurses did, written across his stomach in black pen was "Do not open until Christmas." It's one of my favorite stories about him. I just loved him.
Yeah, I have been told that he had a very devilish sense of humor, and that
God,
yeah, he brought that to the set all the time.
Yeah, he was a practical joker.
Yeah.
I came home one day. I lived on North Beverly Drive, and how he did this, I'll never know. The knocker on the brass knocker on the front door had been exchanged for one that said, in Latin, "Noli tintinati," it was, "Don't knock if you don't ring."
Mm-hmm.
Or if you don't ring, don't knock. I can't remember how it went, but I don't know how he did that. It was on my front door.
Yeah.
And Barbara Hale, I understand, one day she had just redone her dressing room and was so thrilled with it. It was in soft whites and beige and pink, and it was very female and pretty and brand new and fresh paint. And he wanted to have dinner with her. They were working late in the dressing room. And he said, "I'm going to cater it. It'll be my treat."
Mm-hmm.
And so when she finished work and went into her dressing room ready to take this break for dinner, it was all painted black. The bathroom was black. And on the toilet seat were roses, the full blooming roses were headed into the toilet bowl. She said it was the worst thing she had ever seen. The carpet was black.
Yeah.
And it was awful. They had ruined this beautiful, soft, beautiful, feminine dressing room. And he came in, and she was just distraught. And she knew that he had played a trick on her. And in a second, he snapped his fingers. The rugs disappeared. I don't know what he'd done for the walls, but suddenly they just took it off, and there was her dressing room restored. And then they brought the champagne in, and they brought the pheasant under glass or whatever they had. So she realized that after all of the tears and the fear that they'd ruined her dressing room, that he'd played a practical joke on her. Elaborate one.
And I understand that sometimes, not necessarily Barbara Hale, but sometimes an actor would play a joke on Raymond, and when once he realized he was had, he appreciated that because he knew what it took to stage it on his end.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
We took the Latin, "If you don't ring, don't..." Oh, if you don't swing, don't ring. That was it.
Okay.
If you don't swing, don't ring. That was it.
Yeah.
In Latin.
Yeah.
So we took that off my front door and had it attached to his dressing room door. And he never acknowledged it. Never spoke of it. Never said, "Gee, that was good." I was waiting for the longest time. It never happened.
On the line with us is singer-actress Constance Towers, star of General Hospital, The Naked Kiss, Shock Corridor, The King and I, Perry Mason, and many other film, TV, and stage productions. For our listeners in Los Angeles, Constance Towers will appear at the Egyptian Theater in Hollywood on Sunday, January 27th. Connie will be interviewed by film historian Foster Hirsch that evening following a special screening of The Naked Kiss. For more information, go to AmericanCinemathequeCalendar.com. Before we say goodbye, I want to at least tell you, among your many other appearances in film and television, you did one of my favorite episodes of Rockford Files with James Garner.
Yes.
You played an IRS agent, and there's a very funny moment at the end where your character one-ups James Luisi's character, who is Jim's nemesis on the show. It's one of my favorite moments of the show.
Well, it was such fun to play it because that's when she reveals herself as the IRS agent. And, you know, the funny little thing about he never had cash for the meters, that was something that just developed. That was how wonderful James Garner was, that you could give him that. The first time I looked at him and I thought, "Oh, this guy doesn't have any coins for the meter." So then I would reach in my purse and give him. And finally, by the end, it was such an exasperation point that we both, you know, I knew we'd get to a meter, and he'd, in this hurried moment of discovering whatever the crime was or whatever, that he wouldn't have the money and I'd have to provide it. So when she turns out to be an IRS agent, it's even funnier, that she's constantly providing him with the coins.
I have been told that Jim Garner was another star who he not only set the tone on that show, he made it a very positive, engaging, comfortable tone for actors and crew members alike.
Well, here again you had an actor who was totally prepared. So when he had a vision of what that show was going to be, he knew where the story was going, and you simply came prepared, and it was a journey with him. And he was such a good actor, really a consummate actor, and fun. He had a cute sense of humor. He made it a very pleasant environment. I mean, again, I think all of us have had those moments when we worked with somebody who was either unhappy with themselves or just unhappy with the world and made it kind of a stressful experience. This was totally professional. You felt that you had done 150% if that was possible, but you had done your very best and had fun. He was just delightful.
Well, it has been delightful and fun to talk to you, Constance Towers. I hope we'll have a chance to chat again one of these days on TV Confidential.
Oh, thank you. Well, you've been a delight. And the only one little thing I didn't say was that, there is a Beverly Hills Writers Guild. And in March, they're having an event. They're going to honor, I can't wait to spend more time with her, Eva Marie Saint. And they raise money by that event to give scholarships. Julie Harris of Broadway has a scholarship that is awarded to a young writer. So it encourages playwrights. And they don't have much encouragement. People forget that a playwright has to have a place to begin or to succeed or fail. And so that's what the Beverly Hills Writers Guild does. And so in March, there will be an event.
That event being the annual luncheon of the Beverly Hills Theater Guild, which will take place on Sunday, March 17th at the Four Seasons Hotel in Beverly Hills. As Connie mentioned, Eva Marie Saint will be honored that afternoon, as will the late television director Jeffrey Hayden, longtime writer-director Howard Storm, and legendary Hollywood agent Bud Burton Moss, while the highlight of the program will be a tribute to the films and television series of Gary Marshall. For more information, call 310-765-1605, 310-765-1605, or go to BeverlyHillsTheaterGuild.com.
You're so easy and such a pleasure. Thank you.
Well, the feeling is mutual. I had a lot of fun. I hope we'll have a chance to chat again.
Me too. Well, I think you're wonderful. Thank you.
Constance Towers will appear at the Egyptian Theater, 6712 Hollywood Boulevard in Hollywood, California on Sunday, January 27th. Connie will be interviewed that night by film historian Foster Hirsch following a special screening of The Naked Kiss. For more information, go to AmericanCinemaTechCalendar.com, AmericanCinemaTechCalendar.com. Stay with us, folks. We'll be right back.
If you haven't been listening to TV Confidential, this is who you're missing.
Connie Stevens, Dawn Wells,
Eric Braden,
Tommy Camille,
Anson Williams, Don Most, Roy Finnis, Peter Marshall,
Sherry Alberoni,
George Slaughter, Dan Castellaneta, Taylor Hicks,
Lindsay Wagner,
Loretta Swett,
and many, many more of your favorite celebrities and people behind the scenes in the world of television. That's TV Confidential, every week on this station and every day online at tvconfidential.net.
Hey, did you know that TV Confidential has a YouTube channel? It's true. Check it out right now at youtube.com/TV Confidential. There you can also listen to the last few episodes of TV Confidential on demand, absolutely free. And please be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/TV Confidential, youtube.com/TV Confidential. You can also follow us on Twitter at twitter.com/TV Confidential.
Be part of our conversation. If you have thoughts on what you've heard tonight, whether you agree or disagree, we want to hear from you. Send us an email, talk@tvconfidential.net, talk@tvconfidential.net, and we'll work your comments into our next program.
Hi, this is Adrienne Barbeau, and you're listening to TV Confidential.
Ed Robertson with a reminder that the next edition of TV Confidential will premiere next week on this station at the usual time. If all goes well, our guests will include Titus Welliver, the star of the Amazon Prime series Bosch. We hope you'll join us for that. In the meantime, a reminder that Ernie Kovacs, the Centennial Edition, is available now wherever DVDs are sold through our friends at Shout Factory. Also a reminder that television finales, from Howdy Doody to Girls Television Finales, is available in hardcover, paperback, and as an ebook through Syracuse University Press.syr.edu. You can also find it at Amazon.com and wherever books are sold online. Finally, a reminder that Constance Towers will appear at the Egyptian Theater in Hollywood, 6712 Hollywood Boulevard in Hollywood on Sunday, January 27th. Connie will be interviewed that night by film historian Foster Hirsch following a special screening of The Naked Kiss. For more information, AmericanCinemaTechCalendar.com, AmericanCinemaTechCalendar.com. Constance Towers will also appear at the annual Beverly Hills Theater Guild Luncheon at the Four Seasons Hotel in Beverly Hills on Sunday, March 17th. Honorees at this year's luncheon will include Oscar winner Eva Marie Saint, while the program will also include a tribute to the films and television shows of Gary Marshall. For more information, call 310-765-1605, 310-765-1605, or go to BeverlyHillsTheaterGuild.com. That'll do it for our program tonight, folks. Ed Robertson on behalf of Tony Figueroa, Donna Allenfield Grice, Greg Erebard, our producer, Chris Corman. Thank you so much for listening. We will talk to you next time on TV Confidential. Hi, everyone. I hope you're enjoying our podcast. If you're listening to us on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/TV Confidential, be sure to hit the subscribe button.